Even in that moment, with all of us gathered around her, she wasn't thinking of herself. She asked if someone had gone to pick up the kids from school. Even in discomfort, her mind was on the little ones. The doctors told us she needed to stay overnight for observation. She refused. She looked the doctor in the eye and said, "Life is in Allah's hands. You are not God." She was always like this, never afraid of pain but always uneasy in hospitals. She had a fear of them, a deep discomfort she never fully explained. Still, they convinced her to go for a chest x-ray. I remember watching her as they wheeled her out, and I remember the smile on her face when she came back. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Yes," she answered softly. She just wanted to go home. So we took her home. As soon as she lay down in her bed, she was surrounded by family. Someone was massaging her legs, another adjusting her pillow, and through it all, she smiled. She seemed peaceful. Then my little daughter, just 2 years old, her tiny pigtails bouncing, climbed onto the bed and called out to her. My grandmother's eyes softened, and she called her by name. Even in exhaustion, she never forgot to show love. Seeing her like that, I felt relieved. She was just tired, nothing more. I turned to my mother and said, "I think she's fine now. I'll head back to the office." And so, I left, never realizing that this moment, this seemingly ordinary decision, would stay with me forever. But as I arrived to office moments after again I received call and then, my world shifted. "Grandma isn't well. Come fast." The words hit me like a blow. My heart started racing. My hands turned cold. I don't even remember how I got up from my chair, how I grabbed my keys, how I ran out of the office, barely registering the looks of my coworkers. I just remember the drive. Traffic lights blurred past me. My grip on the steering wheel was tight, my lips moving in silent prayers. Over and over again. "Ya Allah, please, please let her be okay. Couldn't lose her. Not like this. Not now." When I reached home, I saw the car parked outside, ready to rush her to the hospital. My legs felt weak, but I pushed forward. I opened the car door, and there she was. She was sitting in the back seat, still conscious, but her breathing was different. Shallow, labored, as if every inhale was a struggle. I dropped to my knees beside her, grabbing her hand. It was warm. It was shaking. "Grandma, I'm here." She turned her head slowly, looking at me. A small, tired smile. "I am not doing it. It's happening on its own," she whispered. Her voice was barely there. Soft, fading. I squeezed her hand, as if trying to hold on to her. As if my grip alone could keep her here. But then, she exhaled. One long breath. And then, nothing. For a moment, everything went still. I was completely shook and screamed, "Grandma!" Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, then closed again, never to open again. I will never be able to see those eyes again. Those very eyes in front of which I turned from a newborn to a young man. Ah! On that moment my heart pounded in my chest. My ears rang. I forgot share that when I called, "Grandma!" her eyelids fluttered just once. And in that final moment her eyes met mine. There was something in them. Something I will never be able to put into words. A look so deep, so knowing. As if she was memorizing my face one last time. And then, she closed them. Forever. That was it. That was the last time I ever saw those kind eyes open. The last time I ever heard her voice. Everything after that was a blur. People crying. Voices calling her name. Someone shaking her. The rush to the hospital. My heart wanted someone to say she is okay now. I wanted her to be back. But she was gone, leaving all of us alone. And nothing could ever fill the space she left behind. That day was one of those moments. They tried. The doctors tried everything. The machines beeped. People rushed around. Someone kept calling her name. But I knew. She was gone. I stood there, frozen. My hands felt empty. My heart felt like it had been torn apart. And then, just like that, everything moved so fast. The preparations began. The house filled with people. Some cried loudly. Some sat in silence, eyes red, hands shaking. I was unable to focus anything except her thoughts. My eyes were filled with tears. I just stood there, hearing voices around me, watching as they brought her home one last time. Wrapped in white, she looked peaceful, almost as if she was asleep. But she wasn't. I wanted to touch her hand one last time, to feel the warmth I had known all my life. The funeral was a blur. I remember walking behind them, my feet dragging, my chest tight. I remember the sound of prayers, the weight of sorrow in the air. And then, I saw it, the place where we would lay her to rest. The final goodbye. I knelt by her grave, my fingers digging into the earth. My tears fell, mixing with the soil, and all I could think about was her voice. "Son, go to sleep. You have work in the morning." Those words, the words I had once brushed aside, the words that had once annoyed me, and now, I would never hear them again. No one would wait for me at the door anymore. No one would call me son with so much love. No one would worry about me like she did. Regret will remain with me throughout my life. It's a cruel thing. It eats away at you. It makes you wish for just one more moment, one more chance to say, "I love you," to say, "I never meant to hurt you." But time doesn't stop. Life doesn't rewind. I sat there, staring at the fresh earth covering her, and I prayed, "God, please grant her the highest place in heaven." I whispered it over and over again, because that's all I could do now. Pray for her, miss her, remember her, and live with the regret of all the things left unsaid. They say time heals, but some wounds never fully close. They just become a part of you. Losing her changed me. It wasn't just the pain of her absence. It was the weight of everything she had taught me. The love she gave so effortlessly. The patience she had, even when I didn't deserve it. I carried that with me, and I realized something. Life doesn't stop. People leave, but their lessons remain. I started seeing things differently. When my mother calls my name now, I never nod absent-mindedly. I look at her. I listen. When she asks if I had eaten, I never brush it off. I answer properly, knowing it is her way of showing love. When she says me to take rest, I never get annoyed. I simply smile and say, "I will, Mother," because I knew now. I knew what it meant to regret words unspoken. I knew what it felt like to wish for one more moment, one more hug, one more chance. So I made sure that at least my mother will never feel neglected, never feel like she was a burden. I hold her hand when she is tired. I sat beside her when she looks lost in thought. And every time she says something, even the smallest thing, I pay attention, because I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. But deep inside, my heart never stopped searching for my grandma. Even today, when I walk into a quiet room, I half expect to see her sitting there, waiting for me. Even now, when I hear an elder's voice, my heart flutters for a second, thinking it's her. She may be gone, but she never really left me. Her dear departed soul is always with me. She lives in my prayers. I really feel connected to her in this way, in my habits, in the way I treat others. And most of all, she lives in the love I now give to my mother, because that's what she would have wanted. To love without conditions, to care without expectation, to give without holding back. And that's the lesson I will carry with me for the rest of my life. They say when a person leaves this world, they are gone. That time moves on, and life forces you to do the same. But I've never truly believed that, because she is still here. Not in a way that the world can see, but in a way that I can feel deeply, endlessly.
Dear viewer, please do not forget to subscribe and press the bell icon.